Hi, Fran.
Hi, Cammy. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's nice to see you. So I have to say, well, thank you to Brand Innovators for pairing me with Fran. When I got the email that they would like me to do this, I had to laugh because, of course, they paired me with a PhD, somebody who failed chemistry. So clearly not the smartest person sitting on this stage today. But I no, so I was really delighted to be paired with you actually because I probably like most of you have been bombarded over the last 24 months with a lot of hype in AI. And Fran, as you know, she is the chief AI analytics and data officer at one of the largest car companies in the world. And she spent a career doing this. She was the former CTO at BP. She has held tech exec roles at Uber, at the Toyota Research Institute. She got her PhD at UC Berkeley. She has more accolades in tech and AI than I have ever received in any award or participation award in my life. And so I think the perspective that she has to share as we sort of sit in this like hype cycle of AI and the expectation that especially marketers have as we learn AI, we have to implement AI. She's navigated transformation at enterprise scale for her entire career, and she has a lot of wisdom to impart on how you can do that successfully. So Fran, you have spent a career applying complex tech in massive, highly matrixed organizations. And so I want to spend some time talking about not what's new, not new tools, not new capabilities. I want to talk about how to actually apply technology and transformation in a real way. I want to learn from the career that you've had. I think the room would love to learn from the career that you've had, the mistakes, the successes. And so the questions that I'm going to ask you are really around like leadership and mindset and how to develop like high trust environments with partners so that you can essentially use AI in a way that actually scales and not just in sort of isolated, ways that kind of stall out. So let's get into it.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for having me here, and wonderful to share the stage with you, Cammy.
Awesome. Okay, so when you think about AI transformation at scale across the board, and maybe you want to start with Ford, or maybe you want to start at some other, companies that you've worked at various growth stages, what has had to change first? Is it the tech? Is it the culture? Or is it the leadership mindset at those companies?
Yes, I think given how quickly AI moves, you cannot sequence these things. They all have to happen at the same time and really pick up the company where it's at. I think one dimension that I would add to that is also business process optimization. I think it's really important to deeply partner with business unit executives and leaders to deeply understand the business problem to solve. And a lot of artificial intelligence, I think, to really maximize the benefits from it requires optimized business processes as well.
So what, as you think about those like implementation cycles, what is the major difference between, a sustained initiative versus the ones that stall out? Like, what are the sort of key characteristics of those?
Yes, a couple. Firstly, around falling in love with the business problem, not the solution, and not thinking technology first, but thinking user-centric and business-minded first. Secondly, putting the human at the center of the equation. And that really then helps to scale these efforts and to have meaningful impact, whether it's around consumer experience or business impact as well. And a big portion about this that I think is important for success is the operating model. So, for example, at Ford, we are very deeply integrated, my team in data analytics and AI, into the various different business units. My leadership team sits on the various different C-level executive leadership teams as a permanent member, and that really allows us to deeply understand the business and the opportunities to help co-create strategy. And I feel very fortunate that we have this engagement model because this allows us to stay grounded in what the business opportunities and the user experiences are that we want to build.
So basically, you guys have developed an operating modality where your direct reports essentially sit in every room so that you don't just become this sort of isolated function, that you are embedded in every aspect of the business. Do you think that is, so you're saying that's the difference of failure and success?
I think it's one key aspect of it, this really deep integration. And when I think about my role, obviously I have a very deep technology background, but I see myself as a business leader first.
Yeah.
And that's also how my leadership team thinks of themselves too, to be first business leaders and then technologists second.
So, okay, so then that brings us to customer. So when you look at the enterprise, where do you see AI today creating the most impact or like immediate value for the customer? Not, like I said, with this hype cycle that we're in, like where do you think AI is the most scalably providing value for customer across the business?
At Ford, we have really deployed AI at scale across the entirety of the product lifecycle, perhaps with focus on some of the customer experience use cases. One of them is our unified customer experience. So we want to support customers throughout their vehicle lifecycle and ownership. And previously, information was siloed across various different areas, owner's manuals, service documents, warranty documents, etc. And so we actually recently launched an AI agent capability where the customer now has a single pane of glass they can go to and ask a question. And it's the agent that does the complex work behind the scenes, understands the intent, and also has access to some tools, for example, to dynamically calculate towing capacity. So not only providing or synthesizing text information. And that gets then surfaced up to the user. A second example is in the quality space. We are automatically analyzing customer support engagements. And then obviously for privacy and security reasons, de-identifying them, and then identifying potential quality trends that are emerging. Similarly, as we're opening up repair orders, we immediately start predicting what potential quality issues might be occurring, and that allows us to much more quickly identify and provide these signals back to manufacturing, to our dealers, to customer support, or to the customer directly, for example. And so there are many more examples like this, but we really focused across the entirety of the life cycle stage. Perhaps another one to add is around parts. So again, when you bring your car in and a repair order is being opened, we now immediately predict the parts that might be required to repair the vehicle and proactively send the part to the dealer. And we can do this with over 92% accuracy. And so that allows us, again, to have a much better user experience and a shortened time for the customer to get their vehicle back on the road.
So, I mean, you're a 120-year-old company. You are sitting on so much data. How long did it take for you to be able to translate all of that data to be data ready, to actually get to that place. And I think that leads me to the question of like, how important is data readiness and quality and governance essentially as prerequisites for AI to actually be enterprise scaled?
Yeah, absolutely crucial. I would say Ford has been extremely foresightful in having centralized the data analytics and artificial intelligence organization many years ago. Actually, we celebrated our 10-year anniversary last year. And so therefore, data quality, lineage, metadata, etc., is in very high mature state. Of course, always more to do on that front. And that really provides the foundation then to provide data science models, generative AI, etc. I think also, more importantly, also is to continue to focus on privacy, as well as ethics around artificial intelligence. And so I feel very proud to be working for a company that takes this extremely seriously. For example, we require explicit consent from the user in order to use data for artificial intelligence applications. And we have a very mature AI governance framework. For example, a part of this is our AI Technology Council, which has a cross-disciplinary arrangement of legal, privacy, enterprise technology, digital security, AI experts, as well as, of course, individuals who sit in the various different business units to represent this as well. Overall, our strategy is to democratize data across the company, obviously with the corresponding guardrails around it as well, to really make it accessible and to have a high user experience around this. We not only focus on the user experience externally, but also very much internally as well, and take a product mindset thinking here to help everyone be empowered and make actionable decisions quickly with the right data at their fingertips.
Yeah. I mean, as someone who has been working in startups for the last 4 or 5 years, I think no excuse for us to not be data ready. If you have 120 years worth of data and you guys are that forward, so that's great. Okay, moving into sort of the notion of, the understandable concern that, AI, there's sort of this like, I guess I'll call it a risk. There's a concern that AI could dilute creativity. It could dilute, human judgment if not used properly. What have you learned about using AI in a way that strengthens creative thinking and human judgment, or brand integrity rather than weakening it?
Our strategy at Ford is to build human AI teams. So this basically means augmentation of our subject matter experts through artificial intelligence. We deeply believe that artificial intelligence is not ready. Obviously, as you all know, things like hallucinations, often also lacking context that is nuanced and required, and leveraging the ingenuity of our subject matter experts that have decades of experience. And so I'm a big believer by marrying the two together, you can have outsized impact and have that faster. And to your point, retain and amplify the creativity. So perhaps to give you a concrete example, we have developed a co-pilot for our designers who design the cars. And this is a generative AI capability, and it allows the designers now in a very short period of time to go from a manual sketch to hundreds of variations and then iterate extremely quickly, taking away the hours of work that had to go in to just translate one of these sketches to a 2D rendering, to be able to do that almost instantaneously through artificial intelligence. And that really elevates designers to executive directors, and can harness the creativity of these subject matter experts even further. We also can do 3D renderings from these 2D sketches now almost instantaneously, whether it's the interior design, the exterior design, and even have built some capabilities that allow folks to prompt. So you don't even have to start with a sketch, for example, but rather, for example, can do a wheel design by entering a short text and then go from there through various different parameter selections.
So that, how has that changed the way you approach talent, the way you look for talent? What skills do you think now are more valuable or less valuable in this sort of new world that we're all operating in?
I always look for individuals that have a high level of curiosity and look for continuous improvement, including in themselves. I think a career is a continuous learning journey, and especially with artificial intelligence moving so quickly, I think it's very important to have individuals on my team that exhibit these traits. In addition to this, I think a very interesting skill set that I think will be emerging is strategic thinking, even at the entry level. So if we think about, let's say, a data analyst who previously has spent 70-80% of their time finding data, curating data, cleaning data, etc., and then carrying out data analysis, thanks to artificial intelligence, big portions of this can be reduced in terms of time, which now frees up this individual to think even more deeply about the outcome of the analysis, the actionable business insights that can be provided, and take a step back and think about the bigger picture and how everything hangs together. And so one of the areas we have been investing very heavily is, for example, strategic mindset development. But even more broadly in the Ford ecosystem, we have been investing very heavily in training for artificial intelligence. We have both mandatory training, for example, around AI ethics, but also optional training courses that we provide that our subject matter experts curate and present. And last year alone, we had 23,000 people in the company take this AI training.
I love the idea of a strategic mindset as a framework and just like a baseline, even at the entry level. That's great. Okay, so looking ahead, in the next few years, what do you think orgs are most underestimating about AI, in particular when it comes to change at scale?
I think artificial intelligence is moving extremely quickly. And one of the things I've seen is use cases that weren't possible 3 or 4 months ago are suddenly possible. And so I think it's really important to continue to try out use cases in short sequence because the technology moves so quickly. I think that the human AI team strategy that I mentioned earlier will be extremely critical for the foreseeable years to come. I think it is very important to have a human AI collaboration. And as aforementioned, throughout my career, I've actually seen that this combination of human and AI can have even larger and outsized impact and deliver value faster.
Okay, as a final takeaway for this group, would love to hear from you. If you could leave this room with one piece of advice, something to either start doing, stop doing, or rethink altogether as a business leader as they scale AI, what would it be?
I think perhaps if I can do two things. The first one is this tight cross-functional and cross-disciplinary collaboration. I think it becomes even more important with artificial intelligence where the lines start to get blurred between technology teams and business teams. And the second one is keeping the human at the center and building everything around the human experience, whether it's employee experience or customer experience. I think that continues to be extremely critical.
Yeah, customer at the center, you can't go wrong. All right. Well, thank you so much, Fran, for imparting your wisdom. Thank you, Brand Innovators, for having us, and thank you guys for listening. Pleasure.
Thanks, everyone.